What's up, Hokie Nation, and welcome into episode 23 of Talking with Teel, presented by State Farm. Virginia Tech men's basketball's 25-26 season is starting to come to a close. What does the future look like for the Hokies program? And looking at some future schedules for Virginia Tech football. All that and much more coming up on episode 23 of Talking with Teel, which starts right now. And we record on Thursday, February 19th, 2026 from the Tech Solutions Studio in the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center. Remember to like, subscribe, and refer the show to a friend. I'm your host, Carter Hill. To my left is our senior staff writer, Andy Bitter. Across the way is our managing editor, Mr. David Cunningham. Nick Brown, our director of media, is producing behind the scenes. And as always, we are thrilled to be joined by the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer, David Teel. Teel, how are you? Good to see you repping the Tech Sideline merch on this Thursday morning.
I hope I don't get Nick in trouble with Will or anyone. Nick, slide me some free gear in one of my visits there.
No, I think it's well worthwhile. I don't.
You guys are all repping. I'm the only one not wearing Tech Sideline gear.
It's a nice shirt, though.
I'm not a team player here, I guess. I don't know.
We're all wearing different.
Oh, we're in different stuff. What are you wearing, Nick? Tech Sideline stuff?
Nick's wearing a Nike.
Okay.
Nike Golf.
Okay.
I gotta get with the game here. I'll show up next week, maybe.
Next week. Company man. Before we get to next week, you look at Virginia Tech men's basketball. Since we last recorded, you go to Clemson, you win. You come back and you lose to Florida State by 3 touchdowns at home. And then you lose again, essentially at the buzzer, to Miami on the road on Tuesday. Teel, with the Hokies looking like they are going to miss the NCAA tournament, how do you evaluate Virginia Tech basketball in 2025-26, and how do you digest kind of what's happened this year?
Well, Carter, I think disappointing is a very fair assessment. We can go back to Mike Young at ACC Media Days, at his own media day, and he was firm and adamant that he had an NCAA tournament caliber roster built at Virginia Tech. And to date, now the regular season is not over, clearly, but to date it has not delivered. And there has been rampant inconsistency, and never more so than after the win at Clemson. And then you're up 3, I believe it was, at halftime against Florida State at Castle a week ago Saturday, and you get outscored by 26 points. Just borderline inexcusable. And then you go to Miami and play well against a very good team that was rolling, had beaten Carolina and NC State in consecutive games. And then if there's one thing that has bitten this team repeatedly this season, is a lack of basketball IQ at the worst possible moments in crunch time. And that Toby Lawal foul on Trey Donaldson with fewer than 20 seconds to go epitomized everything. You cannot make that mistake, especially coming out of a timeout. You have to be situationally aware, and the young man wasn't.
If Virginia Tech indeed misses the NCAA tournament, we'll go roundtable with this because I'm curious to get everybody's take. What's the biggest reason why? If Virginia Tech misses the NCAA tournament, Teel?
Carter, I don't think you can distill it into one reason. I do believe the basketball IQ factor in late games is one. There's a theme that runs throughout Virginia Tech's ACC losses, and that's an inability to guard opposing perimeter players. I mean, you can go down the list, starting with Nate Calmes at Wake, Abuka, Corey at Stanford, the Somerville kid from Florida State who came out of nowhere, Donaldson the other night. I mean, it's just time after time after time these guys go off, and Virginia Tech seems virtually powerless to stop it. And then that leads to another component of this. How much would Tyler Johnson have impacted Virginia Tech defensively? Because he's so gifted on that end. And without him, it's just been a tough road.
Yeah, they just have not been able to close out games, to be completely honest with you. They haven't closed out games all season. They didn't really close out games in November and December in the non-conference. George Mason, they let Elon hang around. They let Charlotte hang around.
Even the UVA win, it took a couple times before they closed it out.
Triple overtime.
I was up late last night and I ran the numbers. I calculated between media timeouts, Virginia Tech men's basketball's point differential, essentially between media timeouts. And in the first half, it is between essentially -3 and 12 for all the media timeouts except from the under 4 to halftime, where it's at 28. -3 is the worst there, and that's the tip to the under 16. We're talking every game this season. In the second half, the Hokies have outscored opponents from halftime to the under 16 by 39 and the under 16 to under 12 by 31. But between the under 4 to the final buzzer, they have been outscored by 43 points.
Yeah,
we're talking -43.
Wow.
Like they've outscored.
What are they in the last 15 seconds? That can't be great.
In ACC games, that number is -36.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where you can be positive all game, but you get to the final 4 or 5 minutes and you just lose. And part of that is the Stanford loss holds a lot of weight there, where they had a 13-point lead with 3 minutes to go and lost. But it's, Carter, it's the best way to sum it up is they have struggled to close out games, but it's been a lot of little things in there. I would say some coaching, some on players. Teal's point about defending is spot on. Cal Meese and Corey and Donaldson and Somerville. I mean, just time and time again, they have needed a stop. Like imagine if they stop Wake Forest and get that. Cal Meese does not hit that shot. They get a defensive stop there. Well, you're either going to overtime or you have a chance to win the game. But they have not been able to do it on that end. And then as a result there, Ben Hammond's trying to throw up a shot at the buzzer against Miami when Trey Donaldson makes a free throw. It's just a lot of little things, situational awareness. Because we have seen time and time again that this team has been good enough to play well. But you go to SMU, you play well for 39 minutes, and then you turn the ball over against the press, don't hit free throws, and then Boopy Miller hits a game winner on you. And it's like the inability to close out games has killed this team. And that's not for one reason or the other. Tyler Johnson probably helps. But at the same time, this lineup is capable of closing out. It should be able to close it out. Toby Lawal should probably know better not to pick up that kind of foul.
Yeah.
It almost looked like he thought they had a foul to give.
Yeah.
The way he hedged on that and then came out and ran into the guy, it didn't look like he was trying to defend. It looks like he was trying to take a foul there.
Yeah, but it's one of those things you have to be smarter there. And that goes back to coaching. The coaches have to be better and tell Toby Lawal, be adamant. You can't foul because that was his 5th foul, regardless of the team
that's what's
situation.
also wild about it.
But you can nitpick a bunch of different moments throughout the year, and it's like, regardless of how good they have been for about 38 or 39 minutes of this game, they have not been good enough in the final minute when it actually matters. And they have not closed out games. And they're 5-8 in 2026 since the calendar flipped. That's not good enough.
Well, I'll defer to David's on the reasons for why they're in this situation. I just think it's so interesting. It is such a pass-fail situation for the season. If you make the tournament, it feels like it's a success. If you miss if your team's 68, it's okay. If your team's 69, you're out and it's awful failure and you didn't meet expectations. Even after all this, I'm looking at some bracket projections here, and I think Patrick Stevens is pretty much known as the most accurate bracketologist when he does this. He has the most accurate, or among the most accurate picks on this. He still has Virginia Tech in the field. He has them as the last team in. And I'm looking at this bubble. It's like Cal, UCLA, Mick Cronin. Holy cow. We can talk about that in a little bit. San Diego State, Santa Clara. I mean, none of these teams just jump off the page at me as like, this is just an incredible, bubble that's going to be up there. So, I mean, they have opportunities left. They played at North Carolina, missing a player. All of a sudden, they don't look as fearsome as before. Virginia, good luck. Virginia is looking pretty good right now, and playing them at home can be tough. But, I mean, there's still opportunities left. And, man, if they miss the tournament this year, they're just going to be kicking themselves about these 3-4 games that they should have had. I mean, you lose on a half-court buzzer beater. It's like, come on. If you win that game, and there was stuff they screwed up before that to get to that point, but there is an element of luck in some of this. It's like that could have gone like another 2 inches to the left and just not gone in, and they'd be sitting in a lot better spot than they would be currently.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at I was looking at the metrics this morning on Virginia Tech's team sheet. And, it's not just the net. They're 55 there. They're 59 Ken Pom, 55 Torvik. They're 42 Kevin Palga, which is KPI. The resume-based metrics are much kinder to Virginia Tech than the predictive. But to Andy's point about Patrick still having them, if he has them in the field and others might have them kind of on the fringe. You look at previous seasons, guys. Last year, San Diego State got in at 52, UVA 54 in 2024, Pitt at 67, and Arizona State at 66 in 2023. Rutgers famously at 77 in 2022. So, there are still some opportunities on the board, but I think we all realize they need to win at least 3 and probably all 4 of their remaining regular season games. And the last time Virginia Tech won 4 consecutive ACC games was 2022 in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that would be a tall task. I do think it can be possible I do think it can be possible to win at Carolina without Caleb Wilson. I do think there's that set of things now.
And Visar
and Visar. I mean, they got beat by 25 points in NC State the other night. Winning all 4 games is going to be a challenge, but I do think they can win at Carolina. But to your point, David, they never win down there. So we shall see.
Watch them beat Carolina and then lose to Boston College.
Yeah, that would be the best Virginia
Tech thing to do.
And Carter, again, about this whole situation is like that Stanford game, that Florida State game. Like those are games they should have had at home against teams that are not very good. And that's the difficult part here. It's like they've choked away games.
Well, Stanford they should have had. They blew that one.
Yeah.
Florida State just shot the lights out.
Yeah.
They should not. Virginia Tech should not have won that because they played horribly.
Yes.
Florida State was awesome.
Yes. Well, you don't know. I mean, Wake Forest comes into Castle Coliseum on Saturday having just beaten Clemson.
Yeah.
And so the tough part is even the games that you on paper should win might not go your way at home. So if they don't make it, Carter, it will be a season defined by missed opportunities. And it will be they should have done this and they had this and couldn't close, and that'll be it. And it's a variety of reasons. You can't really pare it down. But the coaching has to be better. They have to be in better spots, but they also have to close on the floor. And when you're in these situations time and time again, when you essentially have 3 or 4 quadrant 1 wins at the tip of your fingers and don't get them, that's why you miss the tournament if it comes to that.
Sure.
And you never want to be right on the edge of the projections because there's always a bid thief or 2. So it's a precarious spot, but I mean they still have a chance.
Yes.
If they could turn it around. I don't feel confident about them turning it around, but better than just being completely dead in the water right now.
Teel, just to kind of put you on the spot a little bit here. Again, I want to be very clear asking this question. I am talking about completely on his own terms because I don't think Virginia Tech is going to move on from Mike Young. And I don't think they necessarily should move on from Mike Young. But in your opinion, with where he is in his career and with the way this season has gone, if the Hokies miss the NCAA tournament, is Mike Young Virginia Tech's head coach next season, Teel, in your opinion?
I do believe he will be. I agree with you, Carter. I don't think that Virginia Tech is going to dismiss Coach Young. And I think he still enjoys the job. And I think he likes this team. I think he likes coaching this team. Do they drive him crazy at times? Of course. And, Mike's been doing this a long time, and there have to have been moments such as the other night at Miami where he's just got his head in his hands thinking, what in the heck is going on? But at his core, he's a basketball coach. He loves Virginia Tech. He loves this area. I would be surprised if he called it quits, and I hope he doesn't. And I hope that Virginia Tech can find even more resources for him to attack the roster construction. A lot was made that he had more resources this offseason, and that's true. But where do we think Virginia Tech ranks in the ACC in terms of roster compensation? I think it's still in the bottom half of an 18-team conference. And where does Virginia Tech rest in the standings right now? Right there, smack dab in the middle.
And I think the interesting opportunity here is that the Hokies could return the majority of their roster. Mm-hmm. Ben Hammond, Jaden Shute, Tyler Johnson, if they ever get him healthy, Christian Gerdak, Amani Hansberry, Antonio Dorn. The opportunity is there for a lot of these guys to come back, and I think they can build. Just the inconsistencies have kind of been befuddling a little bit, but a point Chris made the other day, after the Clemson game, Virginia Tech was number 50 in adjusted defensive efficiency, dropped like a rock after that Florida State game. But this team has been good, one of Mike Young's best defensive teams. But the offense has been something that they have not really figured out all year. Part of that might be because of Neoklis Avdalas and his sometimes on, sometimes off. He was the primary ball handler. Then they move him off the ball, and they have not really found a groove, and they've tinkered with it. And but I think if they can get the majority of those players back, gives them a good chance to be really good next year. But again, that requires a lot of money and resources.
David, there are some people that do want to move on from Mike Young, obviously within the fan base, and people are totally entitled to their own opinion. You obviously disagree with that. Why is that the case? Why do you think Mike Young is still the guy to leave Virginia Tech going forward? I think everybody here feels that way, but there are some people within the fan base that want Virginia Tech to move on. Why do you disagree with that?
Well, I think he is. The tough part is they have missed out on the tournament for 4 years in a row, mm-hmm. or will.
After you had gone 5 consecutive years, if you take out the COVID year with no tournament. So I get that.
We talked about this on the basketball podcast the other day. I think the tough part is, what does Virginia Tech men's basketball want to be? Because as Teel said, you are a school with resources in the bottom half of the league. Now, you should win more games because you've been in the position. Does better coaching do that? I'm not sure. But does better coaching also have a different coach have you in that spot? I don't know. I think Young has proven over his time as a basketball coach that he's good, that he can win games. But I think people are just fed up with the results. I don't have some magic spiel as to why he should be the coach. I think he has. But I think what he has done for Virginia Tech basketball, I mean, he has kept the Hokies in the conversation. They should be on the other side of the conversation. I agree. They have messed up. But I think back to, 2011 through 2014 when Tech went like 46-80 for 4 straight seasons and wasn't anywhere close. And you are close, and you don't know if you make a change, if you will get back there. You could not.
Yeah.
It's kind of...
You could James Johnson it, is what could happen. I mean, Virginia Tech's been in this situation before with Seth Greenberg to some extent.
Yeah. And
they sort of fumbled the transition there.
They did.
They fire him late in the process. They promote somebody who was not ready for that position to get that job, and that was just a bad situation all around.
Yeah. we're talking about a coach that has won a lot of games.
Yeah.
I don't have Mike Young's record in front of me, but I think it's over 500 in his career.
Yeah, overall, yeah, 100%.
So he's won a lot of games. He needs to win more games at Virginia Tech, and he needs to make the NCAA tournament. But the tough part is, there's no guarantee you go out and get a better coach in the position you are currently in. And that's not something I say you should shy away from. But there's no guarantee. And do you take a step forward or step back? It's unknown. Where you are is a position where you have an opportunity every year to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
It needs to be better, but what you don't want to do is shoot yourself in the foot. And again, I think that the Hokies could retain a lot of these guys and be better next year, but we'll see. That's a long-winded answer. I'm curious to get Teal's thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead, Teel. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Andy. Go ahead.
Well, I was curious who has longer NCAA tournament droughts than Virginia Tech within the ACC. I mean, Boston College, obviously, they're always
Wake,
the first
Georgia
one.
Tech,
Wake Forest. I think Syracuse has a longer one now.
Pitt.
I mean,
Pitt.
is Pitt longer than Virginia Tech?
Capel's only
Maybe.
made it once.
I see a 2023 on here.
Okay, so
Is the
they
last
have been
one.
a year
yes,
recently.
sorry.
Okay, year more recently.
So, I mean, yeah, I think Virginia Tech, you look at their basketball, and it's not at the top of the conference, but I think you can expect to make the tournament more than once every 5 years or whatever it's been, whatever kind of drought they're going on right now. I think you can expect more as a Hokies fan. And, they haven't met that standard yet, but I don't know. I think Mike Young's a good coach. Could he use more resources? Yeah. Could he use a little more luck at some of the end of these games? Yeah. Some more sense from some of his players, but it's a tough situation because the hopes, I think, internally were a lot higher than they were externally this year. That's why it feels like such a disappointment.
Go ahead, Teel.
Guys, here's what we don't know. David, if anyone had a decent feel for it, it would be David, because he's around the program more than we are on a daily basis. Is how are things internally with Mike and the staff and the roster? Is it a functioning organization? Is there any dysfunction? And that's up to the administration to, number one, have boots on the ground and understand that dynamic, and then evaluate it and decide, okay, how important is basketball to us? How much are we willing to invest? And then do we think it's best to invest that money in Mike Young, who is a proven commodity both from a positive and negative standpoint? You know what you have with him. Or do you want to roll the dice and say, okay, we think we can do better, and then you go shopping? If it was my absent dysfunction within the program, my hunch would be you stay the course with Mike, especially if you think you can retain a lot of this roster. Now, if you suspect / know that there is going to be a mass exodus, then I think that's an indictment on Mike and his staff.
Yeah, I think that's very well said, because the roster for next season could tell a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. With that being said, how do you handle his contract then? He signed through 2027, so he's going into a contract year next season, I should say. How do you handle that, David?
Let it roll. Yeah, I mean, we're past the point where, like, I got to have a 5-year contract so the recruits know I'm going to be here. It's like the recruits aren't going to be here. How many guys make it 5 years in a program? It's a new roster every single year. So I don't think the schools should not handcuff themselves. We can get into the Kansas State coach situation later. Don't handcuff yourself with this onerous buyout on a coach for 5-6 years down the line, because they're never going to get that far.
You know what, Carter, you know what I'd say? You know how many high school commitments Virginia Tech men's basketball has right now?
Zero.
It's not.
So you're okay with him going into a contract year?
Yeah, I mean, I think
times have changed.
Yeah.
Why not, though? I mean,
think
players go into contract years all the time.
Yeah,
they actually perform a little bit better. It's like, well, I'm certainly motivated.
I honestly don't know that it really matters, especially mean, what are you going to do? You're not going to extend him one.
Right. That's what's tricky about it.
You wouldn't do
yeah.
it for one. You'd do it for multiple. I think he turned 64 in
63.
May. 63 in May. He's 62 right now.
63.
He's been doing it for a long time. Yeah. He's been doing it for a long time. Maybe he'd want to retire. But I think you just kind of let it ride, honestly. Okay. Unless, like Teel said, unless something is gone completely wrong in the program, which would then be an indictment on him.
No, I think Andy and David are spot on. You let the contract ride. And David, let me ask you just a quick question. Do you see any world where Avdalas returns next season?
I don't. I think he wants to play, and I think if there's even a sliver of hope that he could go even late, I think he would take it. And
late in the first round.
Late in the first round, yes. I think he would take it, and I think that's where the mock drafts currently have him. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say this, I think the Hokies might be better without him in some capacity. He's a very good player. It's interesting. He had 8 assists and 5 rebounds and only 1 turnover the other day, but he only took 3 shots. And his curve this season, I don't expect him to take 10 plus shots every game, but he went through that slump in January and he snapped out of it where he was shooting the ball better and he was distributing it better, but he's not taking many shots. Like his overall offensive impact has kind of been just scoring or just passing and rebounding. And I think that's why you saw him get shifted from being the primary to the secondary ball handler because Ben Hammond was playing so well. My guess is that he goes. That's my hunch, unless something crazy happens. I think he could use some more time at Virginia Tech, but my guess is he leaves. But then you have a unique opportunity potentially to pair somebody different with Ben Hammond. And Teel, you mentioned the defensive deficiencies in the backcourt. I think not having Tyler Johnson there hurts, but if you can get another defender back there, because you're going to have to replace Jalen Bedford, I think that's an opportunity in the portal to go get a proven backcourt defender.
I think, David, that's a very good point because Avdalas is part of the perimeter defensive problems. And if you just look at the Miami game the other night, he was slow to close out on a Donaldson 3, and then he went to the bench for crunch, and he went to the bench with 4 and change to go, and the only reason he got back in the game was because Toby Lawal fouled out. So there you are in a game with huge NCAA tournament implications on the road, nip and tuck, and the most expensive player on your roster is by coach's decision on the pine. That is a bad look. Hey, I like watching him play when he's at his best. He has not been worth the money.
Very fair point. Very fair point.
Agreed.
All right, and with that, let's step aside and hear from our title sponsor, State Farm, here on Talking with Teel. Switching is easy. We do it all the time. We switch on the lights. We switch TV channels. Some of us switch partners while square dancing. Well, that's a stretch. But what's not a stretch is how you can switch and save with State Farm. In fact, a group of State Farm agents that support TechSideline.com can switch you over to State Farm so you can start saving today. These State Farm agents and their team are ready to welcome you to the State Farm neighborhood. Check out Tech Sideline for the agent in your area. It's easy to switch and save. Just give them a call. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And welcome back to episode 23 of Talking with Teel, presented by State Farm. Flipping to some football stuff and the future of Virginia Tech football. Let's look at the scheduling. So Brett McMurphy of On3, or as he refers to himself as our own Brett McMurphy after the whole Justin Fuente thing back in 2015, he reported the ACC schools that are going to be playing 8 league games through 2032. Just a reminder, after this upcoming season, you will have 16 of the 17 ACC schools. Those schools will play 9 league games. The remaining school will play 8 league games. In 2027 and 2028, it will be Clemson, 2029 Georgia Tech, 2030 Syracuse, 2031 Georgia Tech, and 2032 Florida State's. So with that being said, obviously Virginia Tech is scheduled to play 9 ACC games, at least reportedly, through 2032. And to give you credit, Teel, Virginia Tech has never in program history played 11 power conference games in one season. Currently, they would be scheduled to do so in, I believe, 4 of the next 5 seasons, or 3 of the next 5 seasons. With that being said, we're going to look at the future schedules real fast. What games do you think are no longer going to be on the schedule? I guess we'll just go through it. 2027, Liberty, Maryland, Notre Dame. 2028, Liberty, Maryland, Notre Dame. 2029, Liberty, Arizona, Maryland. 2030, Arizona, Liberty, BYU, currently Old Dominion. One of those will go. 2031, Wisconsin. 2032.
Don't you touch that Wisconsin.
I'm sorry. I know.
Don't even think about it.
And 2032, Ole Miss and Wisconsin. So with that being said, looking at the future schedules, what are some games you think are going to stay on the schedule, Teel, and some games that are no longer going to be played?
Well, Carter, just to riff off your backdrop there, I'll tell you who else has never played 11 power conference games in a single regular season. That's the new head coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies.
Oh.
You know, for James Franklin's final 10 seasons in Happy Valley, the Big Ten was playing 9 conference games. And at no point did the Nittany Lions play 2 Power 4, Power 5 non-conference games in that span. In fact, look at last season. Who was Penn State's non-conference schedule? Villanova, Florida International, and I'm missing one other. It was not even
Nevada.
a Power 4.
Nevada.
They played, there you go. They played no P4s outside the Big Ten. So it will be very interesting. I would love to be a fly on the wall as the Virginia Tech administration and James Franklin sit down and try to figure out these future schedules, especially with the ACC, again, basing so much of its media revenue distribution based on television viewership. You want eyeballs. So clearly the Notre Dame games, and I talked to Whit Babcock about this last month, the Notre Dame games are on. They're not going anywhere. So if Virginia Tech and James Franklin decided they did not want to play 11 P4s in a season in 27 and 28, then I think you need to not necessarily cancel those 2 Maryland games, but you'd have to shift them elsewhere on the schedule, maybe in place of somehow the Arizona games, which seem to be not long for this world.
Yeah, I can't imagine Arizona is going to get played. That was a weird series when they scheduled it, and now it is like that has no TV value, really. It's a travel nightmare to get out there. It's not like, going out to play Arizona. Like, no, nobody's circling that on the calendar.
What about BYU?
BYU is a little different. I think that has more of a national following. So if you could argue it from the ratings perspective, I think it could be good. Plus, that's an interesting team. Good team with borderline, playoff last year. What's the point of going to 9 league games if they're just going to drop a good non-conference game?
That's a good point.
I know it's about inventory for the ACC network and all that stuff, but I think right now you were in a battle against indifference from fan bases. And I think they've told you, hey, we don't want to pay for all these nothing games at the beginning of the year. I don't want to watch an FCS game and then a game against the MAC and then a game against the Sun Belt and then one good game. What am I paying for all these games for? So if you're going to swap this out and all of a sudden the interesting non-conference games get jettisoned, what was the point of that? And like Maryland, like these first couple of years, Maryland is a fascinating game to me. I mean, the regional game, there's a history there from the past in the ACC. It's easy for people to get up to. There's a huge alumni base up there in DC. you don't want to give up those home games for them coming down here. I feel like those would be logical to stay. Obviously, you're not touching Notre Dame. Arizona can go. Yeah, whatever. That's fine. Don't you dare touch that Wisconsin series. I just, come on, just play it. You would enjoy it so much if you played this Wisconsin series. But I will be angry if all these interesting non-conference games get thrown off to the side. Oh, we can't possibly play these interesting games. We have to add Cal to the schedule. Oh, we have to add SMU to the schedule. Like, those aren't as interesting to me as some of these non-conference games where you don't see these teams all the time. So I guess it feels like it would defeat the purpose if they would expand this to 9 conference games. Then we're taking away an interesting non-con game. I just don't like it.
Well, again, 2030, one of them is going to have to go away anyways because you have 4 non-conference games right now. Arizona, at Liberty, at BYU, Old Dominion.
Liberty can go.
So
like the home games against Liberty can go too. That is
okay.
Not one bit. Put an FCS game in there instead of Liberty. I'm fine with that. I don't think they need to play Liberty this much.
Yeah,
Liberty. They have Liberty on the schedule 4 times the next 4 years after this next season, starting in 2027. Why? Is there a demand for that many games against Liberty? I just don't see it.
Why was that series scheduled in the first place? By the way,
cost.
Okay. Which is ironic in today's day and age now.
Yeah. No, and guys, you talk about fan interest and such. I believe I have this right, Carter. Virginia Tech is scheduled to open the 27, 28, and 29 seasons, 3 consecutive years against Liberty.
Yep, correct.
I just think that gets so old. And Andy, look, you are preaching to the choir. I hope the Maryland series stays. I just have my doubts that it will, because as everyone in the P4 has gone to 9 conference games, with the SEC and ACC this offseason joining joining the Big Ten and the Big 12, we need to have not less, but more inter-conference game. The committee's going to need to see these conferences play one another. So I understand that the group of 6 with the reconstituted Pac-12, that those conferences and the FCS programs, they crave the Power 4 games for their coffers and their budgets. But I'm sorry, the Power 4 programs need to play one another more often and not less often. So if you're going to play 9, pony up and play 2 Power 4s out of conference, play 11 and deal with it. Now, very few are. I look next season, this is the list of Power 4 programs who will play 11 against their peers. It will be Boston College, Georgia Tech, and Louisville from the ACC, Purdue from the Big Ten, Colorado from the Big 12, and that is it.
That's lame.
Yeah.
It's lame. Just as a college football fan, you want more of these interesting games at the beginning of the year. And also the fact that we're talking about this going out to 2032 with the ACC, like the average ACC schedule format lasts 2 seasons max before they redo it. So we might be getting ahead of ourselves. I wouldn't go and cancel all these contracts quite yet, because I think they might be changed in the future as it is.
Yeah, but I look at this like the next 2 years, you drop Liberty, and I think that'd be phenomenal for viewership. Like, you talk about how much viewership matters now. If you've got Maryland, Notre Dame, and think about it next year, where in 2027, where this season Hokies have 5 ACC road games, they'd have 5 ACC home games next year in 2027, plus I believe Maryland at home.
Yes,
and then you'd probably add of the one or two other, or the one other non-conference game you're probably going to play. It's probably going to be some small team at home. So you're talking about playing 7 home games next year. Mm-hmm. That sounds pretty good bang for the buck for fans. On top of that, 11 P4 opponents and Notre Dame, that's great for viewership. And like Teel and Andy said, that's exactly what fans want. It's like, oh my gosh, Virginia Tech is playing Notre Dame, Maryland, and 9 ACC teams. I know that's tough schedule-wise, but that is a very entertaining schedule as a fan. Like those, I know Andy and I sitting in the press box in Teel, it's like, oh man, like covering Virginia Tech, Maryland, covering Virginia Tech, Notre Dame. Like these are the games you get up for.
I know we categorize these all the same as power conference team, power 4 teams. It's not like Maryland, you're going to Ohio State here. I mean, Maryland has won 9 games. Last time Maryland won 9 games is 2010. And I'm not sitting here saying Virginia Tech is hot shakes over the last 15 years either. But, last 2 seasons, the Terrapins 4-8. So are you going up to play this world beater? Like, oh, we have to make the schedule easier and more manageable. It's like, that's about as manageable as it gets for a power 4 opponent. Now, Maryland might be thinking the same thing. They might be licking their chops up there at the opportunity. Maybe this is the perfect kind of game that you have in the non-conference where both these teams are like, hey, we can win this one.
That's okay. How would you like to be a Georgia Tech fan? I mean, you talk about a team that will play pretty much anyone, anywhere. Georgia Tech's non-conference schedule this year is Colorado at home, Tennessee at home, and at Georgia.
It make me want to buy tickets.
That's a good point too. In
I'll
today's
say
day
that
and
much.
age, yeah.
It will make me want to watch on TV. All that stuff
Yes.
matters. I kudos to Georgia Tech for playing schedules like this.
You got something, David?
Hey, Georgia Tech was the number 3 most watched ACC program last season. May have even been number 2. Actually, it was number 2 behind Miami. Georgia Tech is going to cash in on the ratings game in large part because of that annual season finale against Georgia. But, you remember last year they opened on a Thursday night against Coach Prime, who always brings eyeballs. And, Georgia Tech had high-profile ACC games in really good television windows. They have worked it. They know what they're doing from a viewership standpoint.
I talked about, Carter, that Tech would get 5 ACC home games next year. You're guaranteed to get Miami because it's flipped because you're at Miami this year. And we talked about how challenging of a road schedule this is. Clemson and SMU and Miami. Imagine if you get some of those teams at home next year. How entertaining of a home schedule that can be for fans. And you're playing 7 home games and you got Maryland at home. Like that's fun. That's, I think, what Virginia Tech fans could potentially look forward to. It would be a shame if one of those Maryland, I don't think the Notre Dame game would be scrapped in any way, but it'd be a shame if like the Maryland series left just so Virginia Tech could play
SMU or Cal, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That'd be fun for fans to travel to, I think.
All right, so speaking of Virginia Tech fans, James Franklin and Virginia Tech are trying to fill up Lane Stadium for the spring game on April 18th. I'm going to give you an over-under. We're going to go roundtable with it. Andy, we'll start with you. Over-under 50,000 people.
50,000?
They want it full, so I'm going to say 50,000 people.
This is Marcellus Hawkins, 7.5 yards
All right,
per carry.
But that worked out.
I know. I'm still. What kind of odds are you giving me on this?
All right, we'll shrink it down.
50,000. They don't even open half the stadium
What if
for this thing, typically.
what if you
I
say
agree.
what if you say like 31,000?
Can I go to 35?
35 is a much better number.
Okay.
You're
all right.
making I was just throwing out a
I'll
suggestion.
make,
You're making
I make the
numbers.
rules here. I make the rules. So I'm going to go down to 35,000. 35,000.
I'll say under. I mean, this is never.
It was terrible.
First of all, I would never trust the spring game attendance figure that they hand out. I would never trust that. I mean, those are phonier than like WWF heights and weights that they used to give. There's no way these are real numbers. Second of all, it's all dependent on the weather.
Yeah, sure. It's like you said,
if
minor league baseball.
you get a freezing cold day in the middle of April, which happens quite often in Blacksburg, people just don't want to go out. And I know it's like minor league baseball. I liken spring games to minor league baseball. The weather's nice, people will show. And they have more of a reason to this year with James Franklin. But I don't care how much of a draw James Franklin is as a head coach. Going to watch a football scrimmage in April, if it's 20 degrees out, is not an appetizing situation for anybody. So, it's all dependent on the weather. If you give me 35, I'll say under because I don't think that they've ever hit that number, have they?
I I don't.
If
I
it
don't know.
has,
don't
it's
think
been a
so.
long
But,
time.
Andy,
so.
it's free.
It's free this year. I mean, they're removing impediments for people to go, so I will give them that. Again, I think they would have to have like a perfect weather day, and maybe if there's a more, I covered one spring game with Cam Newton, obviously at Auburn, and that was practically a sellout. And people came to see that player, first time seeing him in person. I don't think a coach necessarily has that draw. If they had more of a star on this team that really drew people out, I think that would be more of a safer bet. But man, I'm glad I got my bet in on 50,000. I mean, that's not a big winner. So I'm playing with house money on 35 at this point. So
That's why I don't go to Vegas. What about you, David? Then we'll go to Teel.
Sell.
Okay.
I mean,
35 you're selling?
Yeah. I mean, there's baseball and softball that weekend. So there's a bunch of stuff to do, run in remembrance, of course. But 35,000 people for a spring game.
if they get 50, I'm going to have to eat so much crow on this one.
You know what? I mean, I'd be glad to be wrong. I just I can't remember, even when the weather's great, I can't remember. And this is also like, you have to make it entertaining, the game, and it has to be entertaining.
Well, that's part of it. It's tough to make a scrimmage all that interesting.
Yeah. Like I go back to some of the old formats, last handful of years, some of the formats that are used. It's like, like offense, defense. It's like, that's not nobody wants to watch that. Like, they want to see.
You can switch the format up all you want. It's not good. It's like the NBA All-Star game. Although I guess they had a resurgence this year with the All-Star game with that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you dress up a spring game, and coaches are so worried about injuries that anybody with a hangnail doesn't play in that game, that the rosters are so limited that there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. Teel, what do you think?
What did Penn State get for its spring games?
I'm trying to look those up right now.
Yeah, I'd be fascinated. Not that Blacksburg and
67,000
State or
in 2024, according to it's an AI overview. So I don't know how much I trust that one, but I Googled it and that's what came up.
I'm going to go over 35. I'm going to trust the football weather gods for a good day and say they get over 35. 50, no, but I can see them getting between 35 and 40.
That'd be a great crowd.
So, by the way,
I think it's within the realm of possibility, but I'm gonna hedge with the weather because I think the weather is such a huge possibility.
Yeah, Carter, I cannot see over 50,000 people.
the only reason I said 50K is they want to sell it out, and that's not going to happen. So I was like, oh, give them 50. But again, it's why I don't go to Vegas.
I could see like 45.
You could see 45. Okay.
Yeah, but I just 50.
Whoa.
I mean, like, if the weather's great, if all the conditions are right, but also this is a team coming off a 3-win season. I think that also plays a factor here.
They're going to lie and say it's 50.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Okay,
I don't trust the numbers at all on this thing. They're gonna juice it if it's close. It's gonna be rounding up. It's like 30,001. That's 50,000. We'll round it up to 50.
We're gonna make you go and count.
I got like the old, like, what's it called? The watch thing. You just click
clicker?
the clicker.
I'm gonna put Berman on it. I'm gonna put him. I'm gonna go. I want you to get the actual figures. FOIA this thing. I want you snooping around, finding out exactly what it is, chomping on ankles, finding out the right answers to this. I will not. I will not give up the 35 unless it's a legit 35.
Okay.
When my money's at stake like this on a bet like this, then I want it to be a very proper process.
I understand. Okay, so you brought this up before we started recording, Andy. So the Big Ten put out this proposal a couple of days ago about the college football playoff potentially being increased to 24 teams by 2029. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, because you had told me about it when I was walking in here. You had tweeted about it because Georgia Tech was in that field. And obviously Georgia Tech, under that set of rules should be in the field, but they had plenty of opportunities to prove they were a national title contender. And I don't think that they fit that bill. So with that being said, any thoughts on this proposed 2014 format by the Big Ten? We'll go round table. Andy, we'll start with you again. Do you think this, A, is any shot of happening, and B, is a realistic scenario?
I think it has a shot of happening because one of the two people that make the decisions, the Big Ten and the SEC, is pushing for it.
True.
I kind of think it's just a negotiating ploy. Like, hey, let's throw this out there and then we'll get closer to what we want, whether that's 16 or anything bigger than that. It's just such an asinine proposal because, like I said, Georgia Tech is in the field. And, you know, we were talking about how tough Georgia Tech's schedule was last year. They did lose 3 of their last 4. Georgia's a tough game to lose at the end of the year. They also lost to NC State and Pitt. I think we determined in the final month of the season that Georgia Tech was not a national championship caliber program. And yet we're going through this charade of having them be in the first round of the playoff just for the sake of more games. Like, I've not been one of these people that's like the sanctity of the regular season must be protected. And it's been ruined by this 12-team playoff. I think 12 is a good number. I thought the BCS with 2 was bad. You left out a lot of deserving teams. I think even when you went to 4, with 5 power conferences at the time in Notre Dame, you're always leaving somebody out that probably could make the argument. You get to 12, and I think you have everybody in that needs to be in.
Yeah.
And you extend that to 24, and all of a sudden, what are we playing these games for? I'm looking at some of these matchups. USC, Arizona. I was dumping on Arizona in the last segment. Here they are. They would have been in the playoff field. Alabama, JMU. Now I'll give you that one. That would have been fascinating. But BYU, Houston, Texas, Tulane, Utah, Michigan. I mean, that would have been juicy with storylines.
Sure,
with the coaching thing. Miami, Iowa, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt, Virginia. I don't know that we need these games in a playoff format. That's what the regular season is, a playoff. That's how you decide these play-in games, is the actual regular season. So I think once you get to the postseason, you know, restrict it a little bit, make it special enough to get to that postseason and still worth something. And I think that removes this if you go to 24.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think going to 16, like I think 16 where it would be an even bracket would be okay.
It's not going to be an even bracket, though. That's the thing. They're screwing up a 16-team playoff. If they expand to 16, they're going to do play-in games between 13, 16, 14, 15.
Really?
And then 1 and 2 would get a bye. You think you couldn't screw up a 16-team playoff, and yet they're going to do it.
That's dumb.
The people in charge of college football are so stupid sometimes. They just talk themselves into some of the dumbest ideas.
Carter, you don't need 24 teams in a poll.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the conversations we have with expanding the NCAA tournament every year.
Yeah.
But it's basketball is a much different sport. I say no. Teel, what do you think?
I think first of all, we tripled the field from 4 to 12. And now after 2 years, we want to double it again to 24. I just think it's premature. But here's what I found most interesting about the latest Big Ten proposal. And I credit Pete Thamel and ESPN for breaking this story to begin with and getting a hold of what the Big Ten's idea is. Because if you will remember, guys, what Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner, and this was a non-starter, I think, to virtually everyone in the industry, was he wanted either a 16 or a 24-team playoff with guaranteed automatic qualifiers for each power conference. And in some plans, it was 4 for the Big Ten and 4 for the SEC, but only 2 each for the Big 12 and the ACC. And then it got to, well, let's go to 24, and then each power conference gets 4 automatic bids. This current proposal has no automatic bids for any conference. So in that regard, I applaud Petitti for at least being willing to compromise and putting an idea on the table that might be a little more palatable to Greg Sankey and the rest of the commissioners. Do I think it's going to happen? No, because it seems that Sankey and the SEC are adamantly opposed to 24. I think 16 feels inevitable, and with all the dysfunction in the Big Ten, you go back to the private equity situation. I'm not sure how much juice Tony Petitti has with his own presidents, let alone in the room with his fellow commissioners. So to me, a Big Ten pushed idea doesn't have much of a chance. but 16 at some point does feel inevitable. And yes, Andy, they are going to screw up a simple 16-team bracket. And as only college football can do.
It's amazing. I mean, the Big Ten, quite a run of Big Ten leadership here with Petiti following up Kevin Warren. I mean, Jim Delaney has got to be just like, come on, guys. I wasn't lording over the entire sport for 3 decades or whatever it was for you guys to screw it up after my watch ended here. I think one of the other things I dislike about this 24-team thing is it would eliminate conference championship games.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know, call me old-fashioned. I mean, conference championship games haven't been around forever, so it's not like this is going back to the 50s or something like that. I like that weekend. That weekend's awesome. That is great football all weekend. And, you know, when you expand this tournament further and further, I think one of the bummers about the NCAA basketball tournament is that 68 teams will be in it, and 67 of them end their season with a loss. And there's one team that ends it with a win. And every other team kind of looks at it like, God, that stunk to go out with a loss like that. But there are certain teams that win their conference championship. You know, Wisconsin has won their share of conference championships, and that's kind of cool to look back on. I still feel like that's something worth preserving in college football, is winning an SEC championship, winning an AC. Like, you hang banners about this stuff. Mm-hmm. You don't hang banners about 23rd seed in the 2014 playoffs. And put that up there, right? Like, it's something like fix your tiebreakers, get your best teams in that weekend. I think if Miami played Virginia last year in the ACC, that would have been a much better, more interesting game from a ratings and TV perspective. And I like that weekend of football still being like that. And it feels like all these proposals want to move to eliminate that as if that's just like another week on the schedule. And these games don't matter and stuff like that. I think it still matters to the teams that win and, get to celebrate afterwards. They get rings and, T-shirts, the whole 9 yards on this whole thing. I think they're trying to change this too much to be like the NFL.
Yeah. Professional model.
And they shouldn't. It's college football. It's its own unique sport. With its unique traditions, the way that they've done things, and how many games at the end of these professional seasons mean nothing. In week 17, week 18 in the NFL, nobody's playing their starters. It's not interesting at all. Everybody's had spots locked up for the longest time. You're not building to anything at the end of the year. I think if you build to something in that championship weekend, everybody's still playing for something. Keep everybody invested throughout the season.
Teel, just to wrap it up, what is your take on this whole Jerome Tang situation in Kansas State? The Wildcats are 10-15, 1-11 in Big 12 play. They were probably going to fire him anyways. Not probably. They were at the end of year 4. A bad Cincinnati team beats him by 30 at home. He goes into a post-game press conference and says that the guys on his team do not deserve to wear the uniform and that they will not be here next year, essentially. And they have practice at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Then they go on the road, get beat by Houston. That's a couple of days later. It made the timeline all weird, yada, yada, yada. And then their AD comes out on Sunday, says that they're going to fire him. Not only are they going to fire him, they're going to fire him for cause, and they're not going to pay him a $19 million buyout. Seems like it's going to be heading to court here pretty soon. What is your take on this whole thing, the Jerome Tang situation at Kansas State?
Carter, I don't think it's going to go to court. I think it's going to go to negotiation among lawyers. And as always in college athletics, the winning team is billable hours. And that's all this is from Kansas State, is a public negotiating stunt. Yeah, you want to fire your coach, have at it. To try to fire him for cause, for calling out his well-compensated roster, by the way, seems to me not a bit of a stretch, but a huge stretch. But how interesting that last night, under the interim, that Kansas State went out and drilled Baylor by double digits. And I found that result quite interesting, if not amusing. So maybe that did speak to a certain amount of dysfunction in the Wildcats locker room.
Do some of these schools just walk around with a sign on the back of their that just says "Sue me"? they're asking to be sued in these situations. If it does go to a negotiation and I'm Jerome Tang's lawyers, here's my starting position: the full buyout.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm not budging from that. This is ridiculous. Kansas State has no case in this. I mean, everybody knows what cause is in these contracts, and just say it's at the discretion of the athletic director whether they embarrass the university. Like, come on, stop it. This is just posturing, and I wish there was some sort of penalty associated with some of these places. As somebody who's left a place of employment and then they demanded something unreasonable of me on the way out, that they think they can just do anything. I'm on the coach's side on this, and I think these buyouts are ridiculous. But stop putting these buyouts in contracts if you don't want to pay them. Otherwise, if you fire somebody because they're not good enough, pay them. Now, if you go out like Sharon Moore, yeah, of course, that's firing for cause. You don't have to pay him in that case. But all this other stuff, I mean, I feel like the stuff goes to court, and like, David Beatty, I think at Kansas, they tried to fire him for cause. I think they ended up paying, if not the full amount, close to it. I think some of these other schools, like Tennessee, dug up stuff on its own coach, Jeremy Pruitt, to get a lower payout. It's like, is this worth it to do all this stuff just to avoid this money? So, you signed the contract, just pay it. It's ridiculous.
I don't, and I mean, there's, like Teel said, there's nothing he said that feels like really warrants cause. Like, it's like, yes, I mean, it wasn't great. But
I understand why it made headlines, but if they're 18-10, they're not firing him for cause after going on a rant like that.
No, you're just firing him to fire him. They were what they were doing was they were looking for cause to fire him, and they were like, oh well, because we don't like it's the Steve Carell thing from The Office. I can't help but think of that every single time. Yes, no, Michael, you can't just fire someone because you don't like them. I mean, this is like it's not like he like I get it. You're not happy with your situation, but like it's not like he took a blowtorch to the program. Like, he's just like, our guys aren't playing well and they don't deserve, like, coaches say stuff like that all the time. It wasn't like he said anything overblown. So I'm interested to see where this goes, because this is fun to follow. And as Teel said, watching Kansas State beat Baylor last night was very interesting, the turnaround.
If Jerome... Wait. David, did you just raise your voice at me?
Yeah, I was...
Okay, man.
We have it on camera here, dude. Come on. You just raised your voice at me. This is absurd. I can't believe this.
I was going to say, if Jerome Tang is getting fired for cause for that, what's going to happen to Mick Cronin? I mean,
is there something in the water in UCLA? Because when Jim Mora was there, he was just insufferable.
Really?
Okay. He was always just kind of a jerk all the time. And Mick Cronin, was he like this at Cincinnati before? He was at Cincinnati. He was
at Cincinnati. Yep.
Was he like Teel? I wasn't familiar with his game previously at Cincinnati. Was he always like this, or is there something out there that just turned him into this grump?
Let's get Whit Babcock on the phone, since Whit was Mick Cronin's athletic.
That is a crazy pull. That is a crazy pull.
Hopefully, Bob. It just the UCLA water does not turn Bob.
Yeah. Now. Yeah, Whit did not hire Mick Cronin, if memory serves. But I remember when Whit fired James Johnson and was looking at coaches, and Mick was still at Cincinnati. A lot of people wondered if Virginia Tech might look at Mick and if there might be any mutual interest. But someone told me very early in the process that Cronin was not interested, and thank goodness he wasn't, because it just seems that covering that guy would just be misery squared, because he looks miserable. And there he is living in Southern California and leading arguably the most storied program in the history of the sport, and all he does is complain. And it just...
Thankfully, Virginia Tech hired another famous not grandstander, Buzz Williams, instead in that position. So,
I mean, it seems like he's every single day he's complaining about travel, first of all. But he
should talk to his president then.
He ejected his own player the other day.
Yes, that's true too.
That foul wasn't even that bad.
That's true too.
Like is it because did he get a technical or a flagrant on that or whatever? Like, it was a hard foul, but it wasn't like he shoved him into the third row of the stands or something.
Duncan Powell's foul.
Oh, the Providence St. John's game.
Was worse.
Whoa.
I mean, that is a situation in its own. But The Mick Cronin thing is it's hilarious. Hopefully Bob Chesney does not rub off on Bob Chesney. He stays pure.
That'd be nice.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing with Mick Cronin too.
Guys,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Now, can I just interject one thing about, because we're kind of talking about college basketball at large. Can the injury gods just stop just taking away so many players? I mean, Caleb Wilson and Vasar at Carolina, and then JT Toppin the other night at Texas Tech. I mean, are we ever going to get to see Darren Peterson play 40 minutes?
Is that injury related?
Last night, that's a fair question, Andy. And then, last night, midway through the second half, Devin Tillis for Virginia down at Georgia Tech is clutching his right knee and doesn't come back in the game. I just want to see teams healthy because it's been such a great season. So many freshmen have been so good. There are just compelling stories across the landscape. The injury folks just need to leave us alone and let this season play out.
Yeah, agreed. And I know Mike Young's probably saying the same thing.
Mike Young is probably saying the same thing.
When they get Tyler Johnson back, I'm not sure.
We'll see. Teel, are you at UVA this weekend? That's a big one for the Cavaliers with Miami coming to town.
It is, and I am. I was telling Jill last night. Number one, I wish the Tony Bennett court dedication had happened on schedule a few weeks ago against North Carolina. And number two, I wish Virginia were playing Boston College on Saturday so I didn't have to go to Charlottesville and I could go to Washington, D.C. for Duke, Michigan. Because, guys, that is a banger.
Andy, you were talking about your students are writing college basketball previews ahead of Arizona, Houston, and
the
Duke,
weekend
Carolina,
worked out well that
Duke, Michigan.
The huge games are this weekend, so
that's exciting.
Yeah, we did a little like Sporkle quiz of FBS schools. Whoever got the most,
I heard
those
about
groups
this.
got to choose their game. So there were 2 prizes at the end, and there were some other ones had to settle for UVA, Miami, and Tennessee, Vandy, and stuff like that. So
I heard
hopefully
about
they
this.
enjoyed.
I heard about this.
Cool.
By the way, just because we have another minute, just a brief 60-second rundown because I get this question a lot. I'm curious to get you guys' perspective. How did Talking with Teel start at techsideline.com? This is probably an Andy and a David Teel question. How did Talking with Teel begin at Tech Sideline?
I don't remember.
Dating back to ACC
We were at
kickoff a
ACC
little
kickoff,
bit.
and we were just like, we should have
Yeah.
Teel on the podcast. Like Andy's like, we should make this a segment
I think we're at Media Hospitality when it first
at the
came
public
up.
house.
Yeah.
Little alcohol always
Yeah.
helps the creative process there. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, our text conversations. This is our text conversations come to life here. So you know, why not put this out in the public and enjoy it a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can confirm we were talking about Mick Cronin last night.
Yeah. yeah. All right, Teel, appreciate your time as always. Thanks for hopping on. Look forward to chatting again next week. Enjoy Charlottesville this weekend and look forward to chatting again soon.
Sounds great. All credit to Andy and the public house for this idea.
For the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer David Teel, David Cunningham, Andy Bitter, Nick Brown, I'm Carter Hill saying so long from episode 23 of Talking with Teel presented by State Farm. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you very soon.